We are downtown on Pitt Street looking at well, I'll let Neil tell you. This is the next segment of the Salt and Roses historical look at downtown Windsor. Neil, you tell people what we're looking at and its historic significance to downtown.
Well, we're looking at the Francois Bobby House. This is one of the oldest houses built that's still remaining in Windsor. It was built in 1812. Now it's the home of Windsor's Community Museum. Let's go inside. We'll take a look.
Now, is there anything to look at outside that played, that at least you can reference to back to that time, to the War of 1812?
Well, the house itself was being built during the War of 1812. It was built by a man named Francois Bobby, a prominent French-Canadian merchant family. They were important in politics in Upper Canada at the time. And beginning of the war, this house was taken over as a headquarters by the Americans.
Now, we are going to get to the recent displays on what is in this space, but tell me a bit more about the significance of the house and the history of the house for the War of 1812, which of course everybody knows about. Everyone's heard of that.
They've heard of it.
Yes.
They know about it. Well, in July of 1812, the U.S. Army under Governor General Hull decided to come across the river, and this was the most prominent position that he decided that it would be adequate as a headquarters.
Yes.
He used this and another log cabin that would have been on the site, fortified it, and used it as his kind of staging area for his invasion of Canada.
Jeez.
So we're going to go meet a friend of mine right now, Madelyn Della Valle. She's a curator here at Windsor's Community Museum.
That's you. Hello. So yeah, this space, I think it's something that for most Windsorites, we really don't understand the historical significance and how very few communities have something like this as far as a historical site. Continue. Tell me a bit more about this space.
Well, I think it's important because the house is from 1812. It gives a direct tie to the past. It's sitting here lodged between parking garage, hotel, but it's a little visible chunk of our history from that period of time that people just don't see, or they walk past and never notice.
Now, if someone wants to come in right now and see something that will display, let's say, some of the War of 1812 history, what are they going to look at? What can they look for?
Well, in our permanent exhibit, which we're standing in right now, we have a small section devoted to the War of 1812.
Yes.
And basically, it's all in this case here, if you want to have a closer look.
Yeah.
We've got Royal Artillery felling axe, we have round shot, a cannonball, we've even got a tree branch with musket ball stuck in it.
Now, would any of this been from the actual site that we're standing on, or?
Some of it has been found on this site when they were doing some archaeological investigations, actually when they were probably building the storage area onto the museum. Some of this material did come to light from the actual grounds, and it dates from the War of 1812. Not all of it on display is from this site exactly, but we have found material from the Royal Artillery on the site. So it's kind of interesting when you start to get past the whole, oh, we're just in the bit of downtown that's, got a small house with tall buildings. You start using your imagination, you realize you actually are standing on very historical grounds. So this display case has a number of items, and it shows a bit about the house. And there's the house here, the bigger one, and then the one in front of it was the house that was on this property earlier. And that's when that picture shows the Americans, and they built these earthworks around here. Now the other picture down here, on the other side of the case, shows the house, the current house, plus the old house is gone, because what they did was they built cannons behind the old house, and then they tore down the old house and started bombarding Fort Detroit. The other thing that we have here is actually an audio, which is over here, and you can actually press button number 3 and hear a woman, Lydia Bacon's diary account of what it was like to be in Fort Detroit when it was being bombarded. Because like sometimes people think of the War of 1812, people dressed up and, having fun reenacting battles.
Yes.
But this particular piece talks about people's legs being blown off.
Oh
and
my
what happened.
gosh.
So sort of the war from a different perspective, what it was like to be in a fort that was being bombarded from this site, I should add.
So tell me a bit more about, you come in here, you pick up a phone, and you're hearing an account that was written down somewhere. Are you hearing somebody else narrate that?
Yes, we're hearing an actress narrate an account that Lydia Bacon wrote in her diary.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and this kind of background, how many people do you think are really aware of this significance in their city? Probably not too many, but are there real buffs that come down here and really absorb all the pieces that you have on display and kind of are their own little experts about,
we definitely have people who are extremely interested in the War of 1812, and I anticipate much more of that as we are approaching the 200th anniversary of the War of 1812.
So in 2 years, you're going to have this, obviously big anniversary. Is there anything right now that you know of that's being planned to celebrate that on the site?
Well, for us at the museum, what we're going to do in one of our temporary display cases is actually do a social history exhibit on the War of 1812. Just to say, let me translate that for you. What I want to do is make people aware of what daily life was like in 1812. How do people live? Not just the battles, because how do people live? Who are their friends and neighbors? Because part of the big tragedy about the War of 1812 is that it split families in two. Because people who lived on the U.S. side had to decide at one point, because this area wasn't always two countries. At one point, it was just one big country. And after the American Revolution, it got divided, the border became along the river. But then people had to make a decision. If they were living in Detroit, if they wanted to remain British, they actually had to move to this side. And so we still have families that had half of them over there and half of them here. And so you've got brother against brother fighting each other during this war.
So that is something people can look forward to in a couple of years. And is it safe to say that if there are some burgeoning history buffs, particularly interested in the War of 1812, they can pop in here, look for yourself or someone here, and maybe get some more information about the history of this space?
For sure. And we also have, I'm not a real expert on the War of 1812 myself, however, we do have a very good reference library, which has a lot of material.
Yeah, I've been shocked at what you have in terms of your references. We were looking at something earlier, and there's so much in this building. It's kind of absurd that I'm finding out about it just now. But thank you very much for showing us around. Again, give me the address of this space.
The Francois Bobby House is located at 254 Pitt Street West, and it's the home of Windsor's Community Museum.
And when can people pop in? What are the hours, just so people know?
We're open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 5. During the summer, from May to September, we're also open on Sunday afternoons, 2 to 5.
Come on in. Great. Thanks, Madelyn. Thanks, Neil.
Well, I think we'll be back again, talk a little bit more about the house. There's so much to see here. I don't think we can really all cover it in one go. So
absolutely not. Yeah,
stay tuned.
That's one story, so we'll be back to cover some more.